I just had the opportunity to sit down with the one and only Beth Scarano, who's the founder and principal of LaunchPM. Launch is a very well respected, they do a lot of construction management, but I worked with them specifically in the world of healthcare and absolutely loved sitting down with Beth and hearing more of her story. She's somebody I've had in my life for a long time, but let a lot of years go by and I forgot to ask the good questions. So I was able to now, and I hope you enjoy them and her.
I'm Stephanie, a mother, a pilot. I don't know. Am I trying to say the same thing or just talk? Welcome to the Wisdom and Wealth podcast, where the stories you don't hear are the ones that matter most. I'm Stephanie, a mother, pilot, and commercial real estate professional with deep roots in Arizona. I was an entrepreneur at 24 and sold my first business at 27, and I've been navigating commercial real estate ever since. We are going to be sitting down with some of the biggest names in business around the Phoenix metropolitan area, as well as community leaders and nonprofit organizations that are continuing to improve our community. I'm very excited for the things that they chose to share when they thought nobody was listening. What I've learned in hearing their stories aren't just the struggles and how we overcome them, but really building a network around you of people that know you, trust you, want to help you, and you are trying to give just as much to them as they give to you every single day. And never connecting that relationship to a transaction. It's about the relationships, the connections, and understanding the true stories that shape success. And I hope you find inspiration in the conversations we have. So one of the things that I didn't know until I talked to Juliet was like, it didn't dawn on me. I'm like, I've known Beth for how many years? We spend summer time together. We do all this stuff. And I'm like, I've never asked your story.
Oh, funny.
You know what I mean? I think it was assumed that I knew, or I don't know. So I'm dying to know. And I didn't ask Juliet to tell me more. I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask her.
Okay,
so,
good. Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So most people don't wake up at 6 years old and go, I can't wait to run a construction management firm for healthcare.
Or it's not just healthcare either. It's, all commercial projects.
Yeah. So how did you get there?
Kind of really like years. I worked for big contractors well, first of all, I was like a vice president of a structural engineering firm for like 9 years. Quit for a while to have kids and did all kinds of weird things. Like I did interior design for mom and homes. I did like recruiting for the AE industry. I had my own, just kind of all different things. And and then I went back to work and I got to work for Swinnerton Builders here in their office here. And then kind of made my way through the large general contractors. I worked for, Holder, J. Dunn, Mortensen, all those guys. And I kind of got to a point and just said, I don't want to do this anymore. But had so much fun and great experience with the projects, and I loved that part of it. And then I had the opportunity to work for another third-party project management company and kind of learn the business of the business. And then that was not quite a year. And I finally said, hey, I think I could do this on my own. And so I went out and started my company and got my first project and actually competed against like CBRE. And that
right out of the gates, get ready.
And it was a doctor group, Ortho Arizona, actually, before they were the big ortho that they are, and kind of got that job. And then kind of one thing led to another. And here I am, going on 14 years later, 9 employees. And, we've worked all over the country and not only do healthcare, but manufacturing, and especially industrial and office. And then what I call the rando projects, like trailer parks.
Yes.
So we've done a bunch of infrastructure projects for like probably 10 trailer parks across the country.
No way.
Just super random. But
when you were at these larger GCs, isn't it funny how you're getting this experience that you don't even know what you're going to do with it?
Right.
But you're seeing under the hood of these like massive GCs. And do you feel like now in retrospect, did you take something from each one of them to get you where you were, take all the good?
I think the understanding of I always had a focus on, the strategic part of getting work, understanding projects in great detail, building being parts of big stadium projects, big university projects. I spent years driving up to NAU to get work, on the university campuses, data centers, hotels, just the exposure of all of really a multitude of product type. So that really kind of gave me kind of the confidence that I understood the details of the project.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn the technical side, much more. Taught myself how to read drawings, developed, had software that we had to use, all the things in the tool set that I had to create to be successful within my own company. But I think the biggest thing that was really just learning communication and problem solving And that's really what is the driver behind the success of the company.
So like the leadership stuff.
Yeah.
So basically know the job, know how to win the work, but now I have to learn how to lead.
Right. And then also being able to be in constant communication with the client, make sure that they understand that we're the solution finder, not the problem creator, those types of situations, so that they can depend, trust us to say, hey, take this on, as our partner.
It was interesting. So obviously I didn't come from the construction world. I came from the healthcare world and learned AEC in the process, but I didn't understand why a construction manager existed. In my brain, I'm going, you already have all these layers of management, whether it's the drywall superintendent, whatever it is, it's all these layers of management until we did our first physician-led project. And, oh, I'm sorry, the doctor doesn't get out of his cases until 9 p.m. and he's back at 5 a.m. and he needs to talk to you, and the amount of answers you need and organization. And I was like, there is a missing layer.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a missing layer. And then the translation back and forth.
And that's, what we say is we really look at projects holistically. So we kind of are on the upper level and make sure all the pieces of the puzzle are connected, because it's not just design, it's not just construction, it's all the equipment, all the furniture, all the AV, all the security, all the IT, all of that has to be coordinated. So you can literally walk into an office or a medical building or whatever the case may be and be able to sit down at your desk and do the work. And so you can have each one of those independent people only focus on their individual portion of the work. And a lot of the times it would rely on a contractor, or even the architect, but they're not really looking at it.
Their scope stops.
Right. Or holistically from most of the time the contractors don't care about the cabling. They'll just provide the conduit. They don't care about the rest. So it's like everybody has a different piece and part. So really our role, and I think the value of us, is that high level, really looking at all the pieces of the puzzle and putting it together so you can have a successful completed job or project.
What I love about what you're saying, and knowing that you have kids and grandkids, is like you're kind of mothering the project.
100%.
You're like, I'm going to put you all the way into the thing.
Yeah.
The thing. Imagine from a homeowner's perspective, if you could have that. Like, you buy the house, and that's great. You schedule the movers. Yep. You think you signed up for water and electricity and all the things, but the day you get there, it's just sheer chaos.
Yeah.
Right? You're like,
you have nothing.
Nothing. And it takes 2 weeks to even get the house to work. So these complex areas can come in and just sit down and start working.
Yeah, I think that's really the key, is that, having people understand the value of that is really the big deal, right? And how to be successful at getting that work is really saying, hey, all of these people say they can do this, but this is really what we do and why there's a big value and why we can create success. And have you have a seamless transition from, if you're building a building or moving from a building to a new building, all those pieces and parts that have to be put in place. So you can walk in the door.
A lot of these physicians, they don't do this more than once in their life.
No.
Maybe twice, but other than that, you're never going to take your skill set of all the new things you learned and do it again.
Right.
And you can't afford to learn the lessons.
You can't afford to have it not be okay.
Right.
And even going even farther, like site selection, lease review, or, purchase agreements, utility coordinate. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can impact a project. And it's like, if you don't have somebody that really can look at all of that with a, kind of from a big picture and make sure there's no gap in any of the pieces, that's where you're going to create success. If you think, okay, well, I have this, and they don't know what they don't know, is really what ends up happening. And a lot of doctors think, especially in the healthcare side, they think they're kind of like the Renaissance man. Or they have their wife has been there, designed their house,
did the kitchen.
Yeah. So, we're like, it's a whole different gig.
You can't use your thermostat like you do at home.
You can't buy your flooring at Floor & Decor.
No, it's not stable.
No.
This episode of Wisdom and Wealth is brought to you by Landmark Title, the experts in title and escrow services. Landmark Title brings decades of experience and a commitment to excellence to every transaction. Learn more about how their team can help protect your investments at ltaag.com. Landmark Title, building relationships built on trust.
So back up though,
yeah.
You landed in construction, but how did you get there? How did you even that come into your world?
I being on the structural engineering side, we work, with a company called Caruso Turley Scott, or now known as CTS. And so they were one of the leading structural engineers here in town for a long time. So knew all the design people, knew all the contractors, all those things for years. And so I just wanted to shift. And so there was an opportunity to go to work on the construction side. So I really enjoyed that building piece. And so that's kind of how I got into the construction side, and then just kind of stayed there for maybe 10 years-ish or so, 12 years, I guess, till I started my company. So, but that's how I kind of got. And then it was just the fun part is really getting involved in those really big, fun, building an Esplanade or a big data center for eBay or PayPal or, the 2 baseball stadiums for the spring training facilities here at Camelback Ranch and the Salt River Pima facility. So like having to, there's so many pieces of parts moving around in those things, but really be not understanding how to put all that together and still, be able to walk in and say, hey, I had a part in this.
Holy crap, this all worked.
Yeah, like everybody, all the pieces came together. So, but it is kind of like, I think as a parent, you end up being the project manager of your family.
Yes.
And so even coming from like, I was the oldest of 6 kids, my parents were super young. So I feel like I was just always, managing things and people, from the time I was probably 1 year old or 2 by the time my sister came along. So, so I think it just was an inherent, oldest person, oldest sibling trait.
I was the girl that built the barbecue.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna sit in the box if you don't
no one else puts it together. I'm gonna or I'd be the one that like I'm gonna get somebody that knows what they're doing putting that together. I'm not
either way. This
that
damn barbecue's getting built.
Yeah, but I'm gonna find the person who could put it together. So
So back up even further. So engineering, how did engineering come into your life? How did you go from being oldest of 6 to this very interesting
Well, I actually
career?
worked for an ad specialty company way back. We made back in the old days where we made the visors, the plastic visors that all the golfers and all the folks would wear.
They have the green thing?
Yep.
They see through green thing?
Well, no, these were hard plastic, like for Hobie Cat.
Oh,
and,
yes.
they had the fan, and we did all the like screen printing and manufacturing. Gosh, what else? Like all kinds of things like that, right? When that kind of whole ad is like ASI or ad specialty industry
was the original branded bells.
Yes, 100%. And so, but managing, so I was the general manager of that company and, ran all the manufacturing, all the labor pieces, all the shipping and all that stuff. And I just kind of wanted to do something else and make more money. So I had an opportunity to go work for a structural engineering firm. And I actually started out I worked in a closet because my job was to convert their manual building to a computerized building.
No way.
So I literally had, the only room they had for me was in a closet, a little like coat
welcome.
closet.
Sweet.
So we did that. And then I would take, like literally would run the building. And it was all the pin printers and you'd have to take, I would take once a month, I'd take the entire CPU printer and all the invoices and go take them at home. And I would stay up all night and run the invoices so that we could get out the building the next day.
The things we take for granted now, right?
Yeah. So, it was before the fax machine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The floppy disks were like this big.
Yes.
I learned to type structural engineering specifications on a typewriter with whiteout and carbon paper. And if you made a mistake, you had to go, layers of fixing the drawings. And then they would cut and paste. I mean, you have no idea like the value of how easy it is now. And, you didn't have the cell phones were the ones that you put like on the floor of your car.
Oh, yes. Yeah. In the box.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We have a typewriter out here in the hallway because, changing original documents. And one of our escrow officers was using the typewriter the other day and she says something. She's like, I can't believe it's taking this long. And I looked there and go, says the girl that just got off the typewriter. Like the stuff that we still have to do and know how to do.
Yeah.
It's like we have to learn AI and typewriters at the same time.
At the same time. And I swore, it was funny, like when I was in school, I swore like I never wanted to learn how to type. Because I'm
not going to need this.
I was never going to be a secretary. I was like, I am absolutely never going to be a secretary.
Now, like I try to do handwritten Christmas cards, and I'm like, my handwriting is terrible.
I know my handwriting so bad. Yeah,
it's gotten so much worse.
Because all you do is sit all day long and typing and all that.
Yeah. So. But do you think even like your time in the hat manufacturing that teach you leadership accidentally?
Yeah, I mean, I had a, and even before that, I used to work at a Western store, and when I was in college, and then worked for a answering service. Where you literally had to take the, kind of, I don't know if you have to pull the cords in, you have to answer all the different companies and, all those funny things. So I had to go in, I think it was a whole 20 something years old and had to go in and like fire all these women that had been there for like 15 years, running this thing. It was a tough gig. But yeah, so it's just like, I think all of those things together and all that history kind of built up the opportunity for me to become kind of a really a late stage entrepreneur and really, I mean, I didn't start my company until I was 50. So I had all these years of experience and other things that kind of helped me develop the skills that I needed to, kind of be my own boss, which I probably always wanted to be, but just didn't have the timing wasn't right.
Was it the
really.
guts? Or
Yeah,
you didn't have the idea?
I think it was the guts and just the ability, like my kids were pretty much on their own and I could take a risk.
Yeah, totally. Completely get that.
Yeah.
And then what, if you can remember back when you decided, like, I'm not going to be, I'm going to hang up the employee and take the entrepreneur and put a hat and put that on. And there, I know you can take a risk, but there's still that bottom out feeling. Like, how'd you get past that moment?
I think that once you have a little bit of success and you get your confidence, then you think, okay, now I can get the next success. And so I think I just kind of, at the time, it was just me early on, and I just put my head down, and it's like, if you do a good job, I think and you're with the right people, then, opportunities present themselves. And so that's kind of how that all happened. And so I was just kind of put myself in the right place at the right time, and then just built my business. Actually, was really based on my relationship with Honor Health. Was a big part of it.
Yeah, that key relationship out of the gate.
Well, because I was actually doing a project for the tenant that they were subletting to, which was Ortho, Arizona. And at the end of the job, their VP of real estate came back to me and said, "Hey, you're the only person that I've ever worked with in this role that's ever done what they said they were going to do. Do you want to come work for us?" And I said, "No." I said, "You can hire me as a consultant, but I don't want to be an employee of anyone anymore.
You're ruined.
Myself." Yeah.
You're ruined.
I'm like, I want to drive the ship. So that created a very, very long-term, still to this day, one of our best clients.
I love that. And they just stuck with you through the journey as you grew.
Yeah.
Was it harder to start the company, or harder to, when you get to that point where it really shouldn't be you running everything, and whether it's transitioning everything or some of the things, what was harder?
I think part of it was just the not being able to be involved in every single aspect of everything anymore after you kind of created your baby and having to let go. And so it's really also just giving myself permission that I have competent people, and I've hired good employees and people that know their job and have been a great support, and and have learned my way. And I think it's just having trust in their ability to kind of create whatever the story and the mission and the goals of what I want us to be, and continue to build on that and carry it on. So it's letting go, and it's also selfishly giving me time to do other things that I want to do too.
And that's the point of entrepreneurship, is an exit and freedom, right? That's the point. Otherwise you stay an employee. Why wouldn't you?
And it's like, I don't want that, so, but there are challenges, it's like, hey, do we get to make payroll this week? Do we have money? What's going on?
But what I would say, being a former entrepreneur and working in corporate America, having both of those experiences, is when you're an entrepreneur, you know how things are, good or bad, blessing or curse, whatever you want to think of it as. Corporate America, you don't know.
Well, yeah, because you're not privy to all the information.
You're not even in the room where the fire is burning to see the flame. You are so far from it. And I just was raised by an entrepreneur, so I find much more comfort in. I'd rather know I'm up shit creek, or think
and I can, and at least I can figure out how to fix it.
Yes,
So 100%. I think that's key.
Yeah.
But it has been a transition over the last, so as I started getting more employees and kind of realized that I can't grow without having other people, and really finding those really great people that align with my vision and culture and values. And then, but most everybody, I think 8 years, 7 years, 6, all, have been there. So it's really allowed us to kind of become this bigger, more diverse organization.
And do you feel like, because you've had a smaller team that has grown with the company, do you think that that's what kind of defined the mission, vision, values more than a plaque on the wall? Or you guys kind of created it together?
I think it was really just kind of being able to be, I think part of that is they just kind of followed in my footsteps and mimicked kind of my, what I created. And so that's been a really fun thing to watch. And I think one of the biggest things is just being able to see that, how being nimble and flexible and being able to make decisions quickly that allow them to be successful too, and create opportunities and benefits and all the things that make them want to stay.
You're mothering it.
Yeah, pretty much. I got a lot of mouths to feed.
Well, you create the house and the home, and then everyone inside
and they enjoy coming to work, and everybody has fun, and they like their job, and no one's out there maybe at some point, but I think so far so good.
Totally.
Everybody wants to be there and stay, and I'm grateful to have the team that I have. So.
Especially coming out of a market where everybody was getting poached.
Yes.
So many people jumped in short-sighted decisions left and right.
Right.
That it's just, you're kind of going, what are you guys doing? Is this smart?
Yeah.
And to have a team that held fast through
Well, and I think also too, I think they realized that what they had too was, like flexibility, something that listens, that, it's not, you're not just a number or an employee, that I truly care about you and your family and will help, take care of you. So I think that's been a really positive thing.
It's quite
So,
literally why I'm
yeah,
here. I had that same feeling when I got to know Nikki.
Yeah.
Literally in Munns Park, right?
Yeah.
Just that feeling of this person actually cares about every single person on their team. Well, you don't have to. You just have to be not a crappy person. People will work for you. But the people, it's hard to find the people that actually give a shit.
Yeah.
And if something's going to go down, they're going to take care of you.
Well, yeah. And they, like if you need flexibility with your kids, or you're, if you need to leave early, or you have to, your parents having health issues or whatever, you have to have empathy and be able to, support them, because then in turn it comes back in a million times.
Absolutely.
Back to you.
Yeah. And that loyalty exists.
Yes.
What keeps you up at night today?
I think strategy, developing, expanding our reach, business development, execution. I haven't really had to do that in a long time. Also just financial responsibility, and making sure, I'm providing for everybody and can give them, better opportunities, more money, all the things that, that they want to be successful. I mean, those are really probably the things, and then, kind of, then the other thing that's kind of on the horizon is, what's the next step? What's that mean for me? And what's that look like in the next 5 to 7 years? And what's my legacy?
And I love that you're thinking about it. So many people just get their head down in their business that they don't start thinking about that next critical milestone.
Yeah.
What is that? What do you want it to be?
And then if you have the runway, you have a lot more chance to figure out what that is, versus being constantly reacting to your situation. So I'm trying to kind of think of all those things and kind of what's the strategy for the next 5 to 3 to 5 years.
And from a marketplace perspective, when people think of launch, what do you want them to think of?
I think the most important thing is that we do what we say, and that we're reliable, trustworthy problem solvers, and help provide solutions. So, and I think in today's world, I think having that integrity is super important. That we're not fly by night, and that we're not just looking out for our own best interests. We're looking out for really the whole experience to create a positive impact in our community or wherever we work. So I really want them to think that we do what we say.
That's it. Thank you for doing this. This was my birthday treat. Thank you for giving me this gift. No, I mean that. I really appreciate you.
I keep looking over. I know. So sorry, I have to fix that. Now that my head turns.
That.
Yeah, thanks.
I love that.
Cut.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope the conversation was inspiring for you. I hope you got a few laughs out of it and learned a thing or two. Please like, subscribe, and love you. See you next time. Now we're in the streets, y'all. I'm a mom.